We Americans of all people were uniquely equipped to begin the world over.
Welcome back to the Ronald Reagan Library. We're excited to once again have our doors open to the public and share the legacy of our 40th president. We invite you to explore our well-spaced galleries, take a private walkthrough of Air Force One, and enjoy our outdoor campus. Purchase your tickets in advance at ReaganLibrary.com.
I am so excited. We have now been open, the Reagan Museum, for one entire week, and I'm live today from inside our galleries, the first time in over 14 months. It just feels so incredible. We want to thank the thousands of you who came out in our opening week to spend some time with us in our museum, and we look forward to having the rest of you here in the coming months and years as well. So we thought now that we're open and we can actually be in the galleries, it might be fun to walk through the first couple of galleries, and I'm going to share with you some of my favorite items and artifacts and stories from each of those galleries. And then, because we have such a great time answering your questions live at the end of each of these podcasts, please go into the comment section below, ask a question, give us a comment. I will do my best to answer them at the end of this episode. So I am standing in Ronald Reagan's Boyhood Gallery. There's great artifacts in here. His mother's Bible, high school and college essays, yearbooks, Letterman sweaters. But my favorite thing I love to show people in this gallery isn't an artifact at all. It's this photograph over my left shoulder, which is the photograph of a young Ronald Reagan as a lifeguard. He was a lifeguard for 7 summers at Lowell Park on the Rock River. He started the summer after his sophomore year in high school, and he did it again for 7 summers. Every single summer, he worked Memorial Day through Labor Day, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. When he started in high school, he was only making $15 a week. By the time he ended, he was making $20 a week. And in Ronald Reagan's autobiography, An American Life, he talks about his summers there. He actually says it was some of the best years of his life. And he says that he saved 77 lives over those 7 summers. And he knows that because there was a tree that had fallen over, and every time he saved a life, he made a notch in that tree. And by the time the 7 summers had been up, there were 77 notches. So why is this my favorite thing in this gallery? Well, if you're watching this and you remember Merv Griffin, when he was alive, he was on our board of trustees. And I can't remember the occasion, but we were doing a tour of the galleries. He was on the tour. I was fortunate to be there as well. And the person giving the tour basically said the same story I just told, 7 summers, 77 lives. And Merv Griffin, without missing a beat, kind of leaned in and twinkle in his eye and smile on his face. And he said, now come on, how many of those 77 lives were really just young women pretending to drown to be saved by the young, handsome, and dashing Ronald Reagan? And that just made me laugh. And so it's my favorite story in this gallery, so I wanted to share that with you. So now we're going to move over to Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan's courtship. This section has great artifacts as well. We have Mrs. Reagan's wedding ring. We have the cake topper from their wedding cake, the bouquet Mrs. Reagan carried. On the day she got married, telegrams that Ronald Reagan sent to both Nancy Davis before they were married and Nancy Reagan after they were married. But my favorite thing in this case is the Amalfi Valentine. Now, we have spoken about this before. Ronald and Nancy Reagan got married in 1952, and their first home was from 1952 to 1957 on Amalfi Drive in the Pacific Palisades. When they moved out, they left behind this little engraving in the backyard concrete, a heart with their initials RR and ND, of course, ND for Nancy Davis. Around 40 years later, the owner of the house, or the then owner of the house, was clearing brush and moving bushes and cleaning out his backyard. And when he did that, he came across the heart. And a couple of years later, in the early 2000s, he actually reached out to us here at the Reagan Foundation, let us know what he found in his backyard. And we arranged a meeting for him to actually present the Amalfi Valentine to Mrs. Reagan. He literally cut it out of his backyard, drove up to the library, and handed it to her. She loved it so much. It has been on display ever since. So now we are going to move into Ronald Reagan's gubernatorial years. He was governor of California for 8 years. We're going to talk about these prisoner of war bracelets. So most people remember that when Mrs. Reagan was First Lady of the United States, her big cause was just say no to drugs. But what some people don't remember is that when she was the First Lady of California, her big cause was bringing awareness and attention and appreciation to all of those soldiers returning home from the Vietnam War. and a special recognition or awareness to those who were either prisoners of war or those missing in action. The cause was very important to Ronald Reagan, too. While Governor and Mrs. Reagan hosted 4 separate dinners at their Sacramento home, welcoming home prisoners of war who had been released. 2 of the amazing stories from those dinners. At one dinner, they were going around the room, they were giving their names, and all of a sudden these 2 soldiers jumped up and embraced. Turns out they had been in adjoining cells for years, had never met, had never seen each other. They were separated by a wall. They communicated by tapping, and it was at this dinner that was the first time they'd ever met each other. At another dinner, there was a former prisoner of war who had been held for years in this tin hut, and the tin hut had a very low roof. So he spent the years hunched over at his waist because he couldn't actually stand. When he was released, he stopped talking. He hadn't spoken since his release. He attends the dinner. And about halfway through the dinner, out of nowhere, he stands up and just starts singing God Bless America. I mean, I just think that is such a moving story. So tying into prisoners of war, in the 70s, there were 2 college students, 2 young girls, and they wanted to also bring attention to prisoners of war. And they started developing and creating these silver bracelets, and on the bracelet it is the soldier's name, their rank/title, and then the year that they were lost or the year they became a prisoner of war. And the idea was they sold each of them for $3, and then the person who bought it was not allowed to take it off until that the soldier's name that they were wearing was either returned home to the United States or that their remains were found. During the time Ronald Reagan was governor, many prisoners of war, former prisoners of war, gifted their bracelets to Ronald Reagan to thank him and Mrs. Reagan for all the attention that they brought to this situation. And the bottom right bracelet is actually that of former prisoner of war John McCain, who we all know went on to become a senator and then, of course, a presidential candidate. And I think that's a pretty amazing story. When Ronald Reagan became president of the United States, he continued his appreciation for veterans and for prisoners of war. And in fact, in June of 1981, he established that July 17th, 1981 was National POW MIA Recognition Day. So I know I've only been saying about one thing in each gallery, but there's 2 things in this gallery that I have to point out. And I know we've spoken about this before, but I just think this is too much of a treasure to not point out again. Starting in the 1950s, some believe when Ronald Reagan was a spokesperson for General Electric, he began keeping on 4x6 index cards one-liners and inspirational quotes and different things that he found, whether they be in people's speeches or a joke he heard from, Churchill and Lincoln, Roosevelt, Eisenhower, but he even wrote down one-liners or lines from people that he didn't necessarily believe in, Stalin, or there's Marxism quotes in here. And then he kept them in this black binder. He wrote in very small print, front and back. And then when he filled up the entire binder, he started using loose 3x5 cards, and he would wrap them up in rubber bands. And he kept this with him at all times. And he kept it, again, starting in the 50s, all the way through the presidency and post-presidency. And if he was writing a speech or editing a speech and he felt it needed to punch up or it was missing something, he would go to his note cards, flip through them, and then add that inspirational quote or one-liner or joke into his speech. And I think this is just incredible. Ronald Reagan truly was a writer and a reader, and so that he kept all of these and was able to, kind of understand his filing system and use these quotes over and over, I think is pretty remarkable. So we're going to move into the Victory and Inauguration Gallery. While I walk, I want to share with you that in just a couple of weeks on July 2nd, we are opening our brand new special exhibition, which is called FBI, From Al Capone to Al Qaeda. It's an 11,000 square foot exhibition that really gets at the amazing stories behind the FBI. We tell stories about 9/11, the Unabomber, Al Capone, Bonnie and Clyde, the Boston Sniper, and so many more. We are fortunate enough pre-COVID to be able to do one-on-one interviews with a lot of the FBI agents involved in these cases. And so in the exhibit, we will showcase their stories playing in video galleries next to artifacts. We have an actual piece of the jet engine from the 9/11 from one of the World Trade Centers. We have the actual car that Bonnie and Clyde were shot and killed in. We have the original manifesto written by Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. It's just going to be an incredible exhibit, so you can learn all about it on our website at reaganlibrary.com/FBI. I am now standing in our final gallery. This is a really fun place to be. As I mentioned a second ago, this is our Victory and Inauguration Gallery, and I am standing in the actual photograph of Ronald Reagan delivering the inaugural address on the U.S. Capitol steps. And what we've done is we photoshopped out President Reagan. So when you stand here, you become the president. And Mrs. Reagan and Vice President and Mrs. Bush and President Carter and others are cheering you on. And because most people don't get to see what it might be like to give a presidential speech or to use teleprompters, we actually have teleprompters on the left or the right of the podium, and they are scrolling the president's inaugural address. So when you stand here, not only do you become the president visually, you get to actually see what it's like to give an inaugural address, to use the teleprompters. And someone can stand where our cameraman is right now and take a photo of you, and it's just a really fun memory. So we encourage you all to come on out and try this for yourself. It's a lot of fun. So as you know, we end each of these by sharing some items from our gift store. And while we were trying to decide what theme we should use, normally the theme ties into whatever the live from is, we realized that we're just a couple of weeks away from Father's Day. So why not share some great Father's Day gift ideas with all of you? I have 4 here. The first might not show too well on camera, but this is a book called An American Hero. It's a beautiful leather-bound coffee table book filled with just the most stunning photos of President and Mrs. Reagan, great behind-the-scenes stories, great quotes, just a really nice gift to have for someone who cherishes Ronald Reagan as much as we do. The second is a little fun gift as well. Royal Briar was actually Ronald Reagan's favorite cologne, and so we sell this in our stores. This is a sort of fun way to tie into Ronald Reagan. You can't talk Ronald Reagan and or the Reagan Library without talking about Jelly Bellies. So here in our store, we sell this beautiful boxed set with the presidential seal and Ronald Reagan's signature on the front, and then a beautiful jar with also that has Ronald Reagan's signature filled with Jelly Bellies. This is a great gift idea. And then the last one for that man in your life, presidential cufflinks with actually the sort of the center portion of the seal on the cufflinks. So just a gorgeous set that would make any man's suit, really pop. As we say on all of these, all 4 of these items can be found on our website. Just go to reaganlibrary.com/store. Scroll down just a little bit to the featured products section. You will find all 4 of these. In addition, for just ease of shopping, ease of shipping, as you know now, we have our Amazon store, which is amazon.com/Ronald Reagan. And I think 2 or 3 of these items are on that store, but so are many others. And of course, that's just, if you're an Amazon shopper like me, it becomes just a buy now click, and voila, the items on their way to your house. So I am now going to switch to taking your questions. I really hope that you've had the time to go into the comment section and maybe ask a couple of questions. I'm going to slip on my glasses and give you time that if you haven't already done so, to go ask some questions. We'd love to answer them. So I just have to get to the live from to do that. There we are. Okay, let's see. Thank you for those of you who are watching us. I really appreciate it. I see that Chase is asking me about someone who attended the inaugural. I will not know that off the top of my head, but we can absolutely look that up for you, and then we can come back into this and answer that for you after that. Thank you to Randy for watching, Jorge, Jeremy, Lori, Marshall. We really appreciate it. Just give it one more second to see if anyone else has any questions. While we're waiting, I think the last thing I just would like to share is July 6th, which is just a month from now, marks what would have been Mrs. Reagan's 100th birthday. So to celebrate and honor her on the anniversary of the 100th year of her birth, we are embarking upon a centennial year to honor Mrs. Reagan. So from July 6th of this year to July 6th of next year, events and programs and just a whole bunch of other really fun, neat things, all to honor Mrs. Reagan and her legacy. You can learn all about it on our website, reaganfoundation.org, and it will start on July 6th in our courtyard in the afternoon in a free event with live music and speeches and just great remembrances of Mrs. Reagan. So we hope to see you there. And again, you can learn more about it on our website. And I think that's it. I don't think I see any more questions, but I will check a little bit later today. And if anyone else asks something, we will do our best to answer it. We want to thank you so much for joining us. It feels amazing to be back inside our galleries. We hope you come out and visit us soon. As we say on all of our live frames, we encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already at youtube.com/Reagan Foundation, because there you'll get notifications for all of our podcasts. We do 4 of these a week, all our different Ronald Reagan videos, all the different things that we do. Thank you so much for joining me. We look forward to seeing you here. I'll see you next time.
Why do we as a free people honor the arts? Well, the answer is both simple and profound. The arts and the humanities teach us who we are and what we can be.